analysis video. Now, we're going to take a look at the swing of Justin Thomas. Now, Justin Thomas is one of the young bombers on tour. He's won twice in the last calendar year, but what everyone wants to understand is how does he drive the ball as far as he does? Obviously, he looks like he's giving it a good lash, but we're going to talk about some of the things that he does to maximize his club head speed that might help you with your driving distance as well. So Justin Thomas's club head speed is about 117. So he's not one of the fastest guys on tour. The guys who tend to lead club head speed on tour typically are in the mid 120s. At 117, he's currently ranked 24th on tour in club head speed. And there's another golfer who he's tied with, and that golfer hits the ball about 12 yards further or shorter on average off the tee. So the question is not so much how can you steal a few extra miles per hour of club head speed, but how can you maximize the club head speed that you're getting? Because if two golfers can have identical club head speeds and one hits it about 12 yards further, you want to figure out how you can make the same adjustments that will allow you to maximize your club head speed. A golf biomechanist by the name of Rob Neal did a video on Justin Thomas and talked about how his smash factor was consistently over about 17 balls 1.52. So basically he's hitting it in the middle of the club. But one of the things that was the biggest note to Rob was that Justin's angle of attack was about 5 degrees up, giving him a launch angle of about 14 degrees. So he's got that high launch, low spin category that you typically see with more the LPGA or the long drive tour, where people are really trying to maximize their driver distance. We're going to talk about two things that he does in his swing to help maximize that driver distance. So many of you are afraid of hanging back. That's been one of the swing things that I frequently hear in lessons, especially when I'm doing the initial interview. Golfers say they need to get on their left side, and they're constantly told that they're hanging back. Now, we're going to look at what Justin does that might be interpreted as a hangback move, but it's a good hangback move that's common among long drivers of the golf ball. Let's look at the relationship between the center of his pelvis and the center of his upper body. So here we can see kind of the rib cage right around there is going to be about the center of it, and there's the pelvis right around there is the center of it. So you can see that he's got a little bit of a lean towards the target at the top of the swing. Now, all the magic is really going to happen during the downswing. So when we get him through to the end of transition, so somewhere between those two frames, we'll see that if we take those 2 points again, we're pretty much looking at a square pelvis, so the center of it's going to be right around there. And then if we look at his rib cage, the center of it is going to be right around there. So they're pretty close to on top of each other. You can see that there's a little bit of a tilt away from the golf ball, but not very much. What we're going to see during the release or during the remainder of the downswing is his lower body is going to shift this way and his upper body is going to shift this way. With a hangback move, the danger is when both the lower body and the upper body kind of stay well behind the golf ball. And the problem with that is it tends to lead to an overly leftward path, or a path of the club going way to the left, kind of like that. What we're going to see with most long hitters of the golf ball is this axis tilt move during the release, where the upper body is working away from the target as the arms are extending out towards the target. So what we'll see is if you use the trees in the background, or I'll remark those upper body and lower body positions. If we now take him down to around impact, and that's the closest frame to impact, we can see there's his rib cage, so his upper body is moved backwards, and we can see there's his pelvis, the center of it's probably about there, so we can see that his lower body has continued to move forward while his upper body is moved backward. That sounds like a weird move, but we'll break down a little bit how he's able to accomplish this. That pattern is typically going to continue until about shaft parallel. So all the way up until here, you'll see that the upper body, there's kind of the center of his rib cage, it's pretty close to where it was at impact, but it's a little bit further, and the lower body is probably going to be pretty close to about where it was at impact. So you can see by creating that axis tilt, it allows him to extend his arms more parallel to the ground or even up. If his upper body was directly on top of his lower body, then when he extends his arms, that's going to tend to cause the club to come down in more of a steep fashion and create more of a negative angle of attack, which is definitely going to rob you distance. Now, he does some things with his body that allow him to create this axis tilt, and that's what we'll look at from the down the line camera. So from the down the line camera, we're going to look at club face control. So when we get to this waist height position in the backswing, you can see that he's got that left wrist in a slightly extended position, right? Somewhere probably around 20 degrees or so, maybe a little bit less. And you can see that the club face is just closed compared to vertical. Now, if we take him up towards the top of the swing and then get him back down to about the same point in the downswing, we're going to notice that both of those have changed. So we don't have that exact frame where the shaft is parallel, but we can see just before then, you can see that the lead wrist is in more of a flex position. So the wrist has probably changed a good 30, maybe even up to 40 degrees. His trail wrist has more extension, and the club face is actually more vertical. So even though he's flexed his wrist, which should rotate the club face closed, because he's shallowed with his arms and the club is well behind him and the body has powered the early part of the swing, it appears that it's more open compared to the target. That combination of having shaft rotation from the wrist and shallow arm movements allows him to power the downswing with his body while still maintaining club face control. It also allows him to delay the timing of his arms so that he can get in this really good axis tilt or delivery position, so that when he extends his arms, the club is coming slightly up through impact with a club that is close to the relationship of his body. Like because he's bowed that wrist, he's closed the club face or de-lofted the club face, but because of what he's doing with his arms and body, the path and this now de-lofted club face are moving in the direction of the target. And that's what helps produce a really ideal compression or smash factor, which helps him hit the ball as far as he does. So now over on the left, let's just do a quick comparison. We can see a golfer who's got pretty much a similar relationship that we saw with Justin at the end of his transition, kind of right here. But what we'll see is during the release, his upper body and his lower body pretty much stay in about the same relationship. That's going to cause more of a negative angle of attack, and you'll see that this golfer has some low point control issues where he tends to top the ball. What you'll also see is that this golfer was told that he needs to get more into his left side. You can see that his upper body and his lower body are behind that left leg, so it gives the impression that he needs to get more into his left side. But if we compare that to where Justin is at about the same point, even though Justin's pelvis is further forward and into that left side, his upper body is much further behind. So if you're struggling mostly with just the driver, this axis tilt thing is a key component to creating the proper path. Now, in order to do that, you have to have a solid release, and usually I like to build that first. So if you're unsure on what's supposed to be going on in the release, I'd recommend checking out some of our videos in the release section. You can head over to Golfsmartacademy.com and get a free membership and check out a number of the different concept and drill videos to help you understand how Justin gets into that position with the arms and the hands, and how that release movement helps support what he's trying to do with his body. If you're looking for more breakdowns of tour swing models, feel free to like and subscribe this video on YouTube. And if you have any questions or video suggestions, please don't hesitate to contact us at support@Golfsmartacademy.com.